One of the things I love about doing Walking is Fitness is hearing the stories of health transformation, life transformation from listeners to the podcast, viewers of the YouTube channel, readers of the weekly email. And the stories are so inspiring, so encouraging. And I try to share these as often as I can. One of the things about the Walking Friends community that I've been looking forward to, and maybe even hinted at, is I've got some things in mind. I had to work out a couple of the technical issues, but one of the things that I've been looking forward to with these longer, exclusive, ad-free episodes is actually letting those who have enjoyed these incredible transformations to tell their stories. And so there's a guy named Mike who discovered Walking is Fitness through the YouTube channel, and he has consistently been, it's one lone goose flying across the lake. And he's been consistently leaving comments in the videos, sharing his story, or at least part of his story, which is incredibly encouraging and inspiring. And I thought, I want you to hear firsthand Mike's story, how walking has changed his life. So we're going to try something a little bit new here. And I'm hoping this works out. Mike and I are going to walk and talk. And so let me give Mike a call.
Hello,
Hi, Mike. Dave Paul, how are you?
Dave. I'm wonderful.
I really appreciate you doing this. So are you out walking?
I am walking. I've got my big German Shepherd with me. So if you hear me scream, that means the dog has found a possum or a rabbit or something like that.
So where exactly are you walking?
We're halfway between Houston and Galveston on the Texas Gulf Coast in a little town called League City. And we have about 100 miles of concrete walking paths running between all the subdivisions. The town is virtually all homes. It's a suburb of Houston. So it's one subdivision after another, and there's a concrete cart path or a concrete path all over the city. And so I walk through the cart paths, the green spaces. I'm on one of the green spaces right now, which is basically a big utility easement. There's big high power lines running between the subdivisions, and the cart path runs through that utility easement.
So you mentioned some wildlife that your dog might go running after. Do you ever see like something unusual, maybe even a little scary when you're out?
We see coyotes from time to time, and they actually follow us. There's a couple spots along the trail where there's some wooded areas, and certain times of the year there's coyotes, and we've been followed over a mile before with one or two coyotes. I've seen a bobcat on this trail. I've seen deer, hogs, thousands of rabbits.
So the coyote so the coyote will follow you for a mile. They're not scared of your dog?
I don't know what they want. I've got videos of them. It's incredible. They stay at a distance, but they just kind of follow us.
Has it ever felt creepy? It's like, okay, the dog's not working. They're still following. This could go sideways.
I have thought that. It hasn't happened. They don't get really close to us, but the dog starts barking at them, and they kind of get scared and walk away. But they follow us. It's weird. Never seen anything like it.
We've had some coyotes here in Myrtle Beach, which just still to this day floors me. And I've never had one follow me, but I have seen them when I've been out walking. There was one time where I was sitting on my back porch, and we're in a community, and we've got what I call the alligator fence. It's the kind of fence that could keep an alligator out, but I think it's more to keep dogs in. Anyhow, this coyote ran through, got into the fence, ran across my backyard, and then out the fence the other side. And it's like, oh, that's creepy and that's not good.
Yeah, I mean we've seen them in the neighborhood. I've heard them getting in the trash, and every time there's a cat missing, I think, okay, there's
Yeah, yeah.
but I think they've kind of dispersed this year because we've seen more rabbits this year than I have in the 24 years we've lived in the subdivision, and so who knows?
Yeah. So you've got an incredible story. I learned about your story because you've watched some of the Walking is Fitness YouTube videos and you've shared your story in the comments. So let's rewind the clock. I think before 2022, if I've got my dates right. So what was your life and your health like before 2022?
Well, I spent 29 years as a financial advisor, and I'd always worked in offices and sat at desk. And so I had ballooned up in weight and had all kinds of health problems, basically just from sitting all the time. And I'm getting ready. There's somebody coming with a dog, so this may be an issue here. Sorry. But anyway, all we did was eat donuts every day. And by the time I got home in the evenings, I didn't feel like walking or doing anything. And so I just ballooned up and had all kinds of health problems. I had high blood pressure, premature ventricular contractions, which is an arrhythmia. I had prostate problems, thyroid problems, allergies real bad, and just felt horrible. Well, in 2020, excuse me, I left my job as an advisor when COVID hit. And I had a side business. I had a sharpening business on the side. And I decided when COVID hit that, you know what, I'm going to concentrate on the sharpening business. And maybe I'll go back to work as an advisor once COVID is over with and we can see clients again. Well, that didn't happen. I decided to stay home. I started losing weight. As soon as I left the credit union and wasn't sitting around and eating donuts all the time, I started dropping weight. I went from about 225 when I left the credit union to early 2022. When I started walking, I weighed about 217. And I told my wife, you know what? I'm going to try to lose some weight. I'm going to start walking every morning. I had the time to do it. I didn't usually start my business until 9 o'clock in the morning. So I just started walking. I started walking with the dogs. I had one dog at that time. We would walk to the end of the block, walk to the park. Then we walked a mile. I measured out a mile, walked a mile. Over 6 months, I went from, just a block or two to up to 2 miles. And then I started saying, you know what, I'm going to try to walk 5 miles. And so every day I walked a little further, a little further, a little further, started dropping weight. So in 2022, we went to Las Vegas in November. And by the time we went to Las Vegas, I had dropped down to about 160 pounds. So I had dropped it really quick by just walking. And I also changed my diet. I stopped eating so many carbs and I started doing intermittent fasting. And that really helped out dramatically. And so it just took off from there. And my wife did the same thing. And since I do all the cooking, she had to eat what I cooked. She's a school teacher when she came home. So she's lost 65 pounds also. And she walks every day also. She likes the treadmill. So we put a treadmill in our game room. And so she gets up at 3:45 every morning and she goes and walks on the treadmill for an hour before she goes to school.
Mm. I want to rewind the clock just a bit to when you started walking. I'm guessing, even though it sounds like you were losing a little bit of weight because you weren't eating the donuts every day, you probably still didn't feel great. Fitness capacity, that's how I like to call it. Fitness capacity was probably on the low side. So I'm going to make the assumption that those first days and weeks of walking, it didn't feel good. Is that accurate? Yeah.
It was horrible. It was horrible, and I felt there was almost some guilt behind it that here I was 55 at the time, 50, I guess I was 57 when I started the walking. I said, here I am. I can't even walk to the corner with my dog without getting winded and exhausted by the time I got back. So I kind of felt like, this is ridiculous. You've got to get this going. You've got to take control of your health. If you're not, you're not going to do this. You're not going to live very long. And so I just kept going. I just said, you know what? I'm going to make it a daily habit. And I've sensed when people since this time period, I've told people I've made it my core daily habit. I have to get up every morning and walk. That is what starts my day.
So let me drill down just one more layer. So it felt terrible. You were 55 and there was, I don't want this to get worse. What was it in the moment you wake up and you're contemplating, I don't know, maybe even negotiating with yourself, heading out the door? How did you convince yourself to get out the door on those days when it felt terrible?
I said to myself, this has to be done. The dogs were a big help. Now the dogs want to go walking in the morning, so they're up and ready to go. And so I made it two prongs. Look, you got to do it for yourself, and you got to take the dogs for a walk anyway. You might as well get up and get it done right now. The heart problems I had, these premature ventricular contractions, and the doctor says you need to lose this weight and you need to do more exercise. So that was a primary motivator there also.
So let's fast forward to today. How would you describe your health now?
It's fantastic. My cholesterol has dropped from over 200 to around 120. My premature ventricular contractions are pretty much gone. I still have lots of plaque in my arteries. I've got a calcium score of 1378, which is bad. They did put me on a statin. Said, this will reduce the buildup of plaque, hopefully over time, so you don't have to have bypass surgery at some point in time. I had an angiogram 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago today, and there was no blockage over 60%, and they won't do anything unless it's over 70. But they said just keep doing what you're doing, and you'll be fine. My thyroid is normal now, no prostate problems anymore. I feel better, both physically and mentally.
Hmm. So what exactly the doctor says, keep doing what you're doing? What is it specifically that you're doing these days?
Exercising every day. Okay. The walk is the primary. I also have started lifting weights and doing more calisthenics. I do the intermittent fasting. I don't eat till noon every day, and I don't eat past 6 o'clock in the evening. It's pretty much a low carb. It's not zero carb diet. I still have bread. I still have crackers and things like that. I focus on fresh fruit, yogurt, and lean meats. That's what we do. Both me and my wife.
So do you walk 5 days a week, 6 days a week, every day?
Seven.
Which 7 days a week? And how far do you go?
Usually 5 to 7 miles. I start. I go out the door by 5 o'clock every morning.
Wow.
Right now, I'm gonna look at my phone. How many miles we're at? Let's see here. I'm at 3.8 miles, and I take one dog at a time. So I'm heading back to the house, and I'll switch out dogs and do a few more miles.
Really? So as we are walking and talking, it is 7:10 here in Myrtle Beach, and I'm walking due east, and the sun is now over the tree line. We've got beautiful blue sky. It's a little crisp is probably too strong. It's slightly cool. It feels great. So I'm imagining, since you're in Texas, you're still in the dark.
Still in the dark, looking at the moon. I just stopped at a crossroads, looking at the moon right now. Crystal clear skies, probably 74 degrees and maybe 70% humidity. It's very humid out, but it's crystal clear, and there's a nice little breeze out of the south.
So what would be extreme weather for where you are?
In the mornings, it gets really hot from about July 4th until this time of year when it starts dropping. It's 80, 82 degrees this time of the morning most of the time and high humidity. So by the time I normally get back to the house, I'm drenched. I'm wet from head to toe from sweat because of humidity.
How cold does it get in the winter?
Um, it doesn't get really cold. We had snow this last year. We did have snow this past February, I think when it was, but it doesn't get really cold. You know, you may have a half a dozen days below 30, and that's rare.
Yeah, that's probably.
I can walk 365 days. The rainy season is the bad part, and usually September is the rainy season, and we haven't had any rain this month.
So when you say the rainy season, how much rain, how many days a week, and what do you do to keep going when it's pouring down rain?
I just keep going. I put a rain jacket on. The dogs don't care, so I just put a rain jacket on and keep going. And it'll rain for 4 days at a time. Usually September, the end of August, we'll have a couple of weeks of rain. I don't remember if you remember Hurricane Harvey. Hurricane Harvey hit, can't remember how many years ago. We were in the heart of that. Everything flooded around here.
Mm, mm. So,
Had Hurricane Ike, this is multiple storms. So every couple of years we have a bad hurricane that hits us.
so you're not dissuaded when you wake up in the rainy season and it's pouring down rain. It's not a situation of, I'll skip today and just wait until tomorrow.
If it's pouring down raining and there's lightning, I will go on the treadmill.
Sure, I mean, lightning takes it to a whole different safety level.
Different level. But if it's just drizzling rain, we go. The dogs don't care.
Do you ever have days when you struggle getting out the door?
Yeah. I mean, if we stay up late or we go out to dinner the night before, sometimes I don't feel like it. But my wife is a big motivator of me. She's up. She's up before I am and on that treadmill. And so if she's up and moving, I'm going to be up and moving too. There's no way I'm staying in bed if she's getting up.
Now, do the two of you ever walk together, or does she have her routine and you have yours?
She has her routine and I have mine. She doesn't like to walk with me at all. She doesn't like to walk with the dogs.
Yeah. So has there been a season, and I'm going to loosely define season here. It could be several days, it could be several weeks, but has there been a season where you weren't able to walk for some particular reason?
Since 2022, when I started doing this, the only time was this past year when it snowed. Because when it snows here, we get ice. So all of the trails would have been covered with ice, and that's too dangerous to walk.
Yeah, we had.
That was 2 days. That was only 2 days, 48 hours. We had ice on the ground.
Did you hit the treadmill on those 2 days?
We hit the treadmill.
Yeah. Yeah, we had snow here in Myrtle Beach on, I think it was late January. We got 5 inches, which is like the most snow Myrtle Beach has had in, I don't know, 20, 30 years. And it was quite the event. Of course, because we never get snow, there's no snow plows, so we just had to wait for it to melt. And there was kind of this cold snap on top of the snow, so it took a little while for everything to melt. But having moved here from Maryland, where we would get regular snowstorms, it was a throwback for my wife and me. It was like, oh, this is so much fun. And we put the boots on and we were out walking, and we loved it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just not used to snow. I'm a native Texan, and so snow and ice just doesn't work for us.
So when you're walking, and it sounds like it's a pretty time-intensive commitment every morning, when you're out walking with the dogs, what are you doing? Are you listening to stuff? Are you just thinking? What is it that you do while you're walking?
Most of the time, I'm just thinking. It's kind of my morning meditation time period. I just walk and think about my business and what I'm going to have to do that day and that week. And sometimes I'll listen to podcasts. Sometimes I'm a big listener of Jim Rome and Zig Ziglar, motivational speakers. Tony Robbins, I'll listen to that. just to get motivated for my business and so forth. But there's also a group of people I see that since I've been doing this for 3 years now. There's the same people I see every morning, and so I run into the same people, and we walk together and talk a lot of the times. Most of the people are all retired people, you know, 60 or older, and they're doing the same thing I am. They're just out doing their walks.
I would imagine that certainly with the weight loss, the transformation, the differences are pretty dramatic, which would cause others to notice and ask, "Hey, Mike, what's going on? What are you doing?"
Well, it's funny you say that because this was probably 2 years ago. I had gone back to the credit union that I had worked in, and I had not been inside the credit union in a while. I usually just go through the drive-through. For whatever reason that day, I decided to go into the credit union. And some of the ladies that knew me saw me, and the first thing they said is, "Are you sick?"
Oh,
And I was like, "No, I'm not sick." She goes, "You've lost so much weight. What's wrong?" And and that kind of shocked me. And it's like that's our mindset now. If somebody loses weight, that they're sick. And I was like, "No, I just stopped eating donuts every day here in the credit union, and I walk every morning." And that's what I told them.
hmm. Are you aware that you have inspired others to move more and sit less? Maybe folks have mentioned that to you. Of course, I think when we make a commitment to getting out and walking, and we're walking particularly the same route every day, people notice even if they don't say anything. And I am convinced that there are some who are inspired to, "Well, I see this guy walking every day and he looks good and he's got energy, maybe I should start."
Yes, definitely. Our neighbors, I've noticed that a couple of the neighbors have started walking because they see my wife walking in the evening, and they see me walking in the morning. And I noticed they have started walking now also. And I got a text message on Sunday from an old client of mine. I haven't seen him in years. And he was asking me about how many steps I walk every day. And so I told him, and he said, "I've got to get my step count up." And I just thought that was weird out of the blue. I have a little Facebook page. It's called Get Up, Get Moving, No Excuses. And I've just added a bunch of friends to it, and I've shared all of your um, podcasts and YouTube videos on there. So they watch those. And, everybody makes comments. "Oh, I did this today. I did this today. I did this today." So it's good. It's a good thing, I think.
What is the most, if you can remember, what is the most unusual thing that you've seen while walking? For example, I was out walking, actually recording an episode of the podcast. I think this was last July, and it was early in the morning. It was before the sun rose, and I glanced up to my right, and I had no idea. Usually I pay attention to this sort of thing, but I had no idea. I glanced up to my right, and in the sky, there's a rocket that had just launched from Cape Canaveral. Maybe 4 minutes earlier, I was like, "Oh my."
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So what's the most unusual thing you've seen?
The most unusual thing is I saw a bobcat jump out of these people's backyard. We were walking along the trail where there was a wood fence on the back side of all these homes, and I saw something jump up on the fence, and I was like, "What the heck is that?" And it jumped down onto the path, and it turned, and I could see its little pointy ears, and it didn't have a tail on it. It had a little short tail on it, and it just started walking down the path, and then it walked into the brush and took off. I was like, it came out of somebody's backyard.
That's crazy. I've never seen, I think the most unusual animal that we've sighted here in Myrtle Beach, and I didn't, it was someone else earlier this summer, was a black bear, which was actually near the beach. I mean, go figure, but I don't know that we've had any bobcats or mountain lions, or we did have one rattlesnake. You guys must have snakes.
We have a lot of snakes. In fact, I'm already back into a neighborhood, but I walk around a retention pond, and it's a pretty good size. I don't know how many acres it is, but it's a very, very large retention pond. And this time of year, there's very little water in it unless there's rain. But I don't see them in the mornings because it's still dark and everything here. But in the evenings, my wife sees all kinds of snakes in it, and she's seen an alligator in it also.
Really? See, now the alligators I find fascinating if they're in a pond, in a lake. We've had some in the lake behind our community, but the snakes, occasionally, that's good. But it sounds like sounds like you have a whole zoo full of them.
Oh, it's incredible. And
Yeah.
we have a lot of raccoons. I'll see walking through the neighborhoods, I'll see raccoons and armadillos in people's yards and things. And my German Shepherd, the one I'm walking with right now, he wants to get every animal. And
Yeah.
he will see possums before I do. And he will jump, he'll go over there and grab them and put them in his mouth and just walk like it's a toy. And I have to yell at him, say, put it down, put it down, put it down.
Last question, Mike. So I'm going to make an assumption that when you started walking, it was a have to. I have to do this for my health. I have to do this for my longevity. I have to do this for the people in my world that I love and love me. Is it still a have to, or is it now a get to?
No, it's a have to. It's a have to for me. It's all about me at this point. This is my time. The morning is where I get everything started for the day, and it's a mental clarity issue for me. It's a physical issue. It just makes me feel good. And when I had the angiogram a couple weeks ago, obviously I couldn't walk on the morning of the angiogram, and I couldn't walk 2 days afterwards because I couldn't do any strenuous exercise. They told me to just take it easy. I felt horrible after those 3 days of not walking.
Hmm.
I couldn't wait to go walking.
Wow. What a perspective that is.
And what's funny is the dogs. The alarm goes off at 4:30. The dogs are literally out of bed. They sleep on the foot of our bed. These two big German shepherds, but they're up and whining, going, "Let's go."
Mike, this has been a delight. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for sharing your walk with us this morning.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike. So, really interesting how Mike took the have to and get to question, because I was anticipating that he was going to say, "Oh, I get to now. It's not a have to, it's a get to." But I love his perspective, and I think that's going to be a little bit of a game changer for me as I talk about this have to and get to, because the reality is for me, it's the same thing. I have to take this walk. I get to. It's a privilege. It's something I look forward to doing. It's not a have to from a negative standpoint, like, oh, I need to get the exercise in. Oh, I need to get the walk in. Oh, I need to do this. It's like, I get to take this walk. I'm looking forward to taking this walk. But the reality is, just like Mike, I have to take this walk. I have to get out several times a day and move for not just my physical health, but also for my mental health and for my emotional health. Sitting all day long, not only is it bad for our long-term health. Heard Mike talk about his early career in finance and sitting all day and the impact that had on his health. Sitting is not only dangerous for my physical health, it's dangerous for my mental health and my emotional health as well. So yeah, hadn't really thought about it from Mike's perspective, that this walk is both a get to and a have to, but maybe not in the way that I've always talked about it as a have to. Also found it interesting that both Mike and his wife committed to fitness, committed to walking, and they very much have separate routines because that works for them. And the reality is, for Ava and me, there are very separate things that we do. Ava's a runner, and she runs without me. I have tried once to run with her, and that didn't work well because, Well, she runs faster than I do. She's stronger than I am. I do a strength training workout. Don't do that with her. Never done that with her. But we do walk together, which I guess both of us do think of it in terms of an investment in our physical health. Maybe we consider it exercise, but I think both of us, it's more about the time we spend together, and this is how we enjoy spending time together. Not so much that we exercise together. We're doing the whole fitness thing together. So I thought that was interesting too. So what is your story? What is your story? How has walking transformed your life? Maybe your story is as inspiring as Mike's. The numbers are as big as Mike's. Maybe they're not. Certainly in my case, the weight loss that I experienced early on, not nearly in the neighborhood of Mike's weight loss, but it was still important to me. It was still a game changer for me. How it changed how I felt was important. What's your story? What's your transformation? Would love to hear about that. You can leave a comment and certainly read through the comments of others, and you can comment on their comments, and let's get the conversation started. Thanks so much for being part of this Walking Friends community. Appreciate your support and appreciate you listening to this longer, exclusive, ad-free episode. And I hope you have a great day.